Hey everyone, how you doing? Brian Darling here over at Battalion 204. Talking to you today about our radios and talking on the PD channels. This is something we've been talking about for quite a while, and it came last year when we were doing our active shooter training. We checked with Chief Johnson to check with his counterpart over in PD to see if this is something we could start doing. And we got word back that PD said, yeah, it's no problem. You guys can talk on our channels. They thought that we knew that already. Some of our BCs have been doing it for a while, but our crews really aren't comfortable doing it. So we want to have this little training video. I want you all to feel comfortable talking on the PD radios, and we'll get started. So years ago, like I said, we were not allowed to talk on PD radios. When I got hired, it was kind of taboo. Like you would listen to what's going on some of the calls, and you just never wanted to key up the mic because it was something we weren't supposed to do. We used to have on our CAD, we shared a CAD system with PD, and we can get a lot of the information on these calls by just referring to the CAD comments. That has since gone away. So now a lot of us, we're kind of in the dark when we go on these PD calls. We'll go and we'll stage and we don't really know what's going on. Many times we'll have to ask our alarm for an update from PD, which means then they have to pick up the phone and call one of the PD dispatchers. And I can't tell you how many times throughout the shift where I'm hearing our crews ask, hey, do you have any additional information on that call? Is it secure for us to enter the scene? Do they still need us? All of this information is on the PD radios, and we can get so much of this ourselves by just listening to the PD channel. So there are a few things you need to know before we do that though. One is that there's 5 PD districts in the city. So depending where you're located, there's going to be different channels that you need to monitor for PD. The other thing is for all their in-progress calls, they handle that on one channel citywide. So on the PD hot channel, we're going to call it, that's where all their in-progress stuff is. So if you guys get dispatched on a shooting or a stabbing or some kind of violent crime in progress, odds are it's going to be on the hot channel. For some of the lower level stuff, if you're staged for the suicide threat or some of these lower level calls, those are going to be on their district channels. So first you have to identify which channel you're on. Our alarm room's doing a really good job of trying to include that on our case comments. If it's not there when you're en route to the call, you can always ask alarm, can you identify which PD channel this is on, and they will get that information for you. But as you start doing this more frequently, you're going to realize pretty quick which district you're in, and you're going to get used to listening to the PD radio traffic. And then also, like I said, if it's a hot call, it doesn't matter whether you're at station 15 or you're at station 1, those are going to be on one set channel. So just a little bit about the districts. We have the first district's the Fiesta district. So that's down, which covers kind of the southwest part of our city. That goes from Gilbert Road up to Broadway, all the way over to the Tempe border and down to Guadalupe. That whole area is called the Fiesta district. And on our radios, if you go to the PD deck, MPD1, it says Fiesta on there. Central district is MPD2, and that goes anything from Tempe, south to Broadway, north up to the river, and east to Horn. That's considered a central district. Then we get into Red Mountain. So Red Mountain is all the way from Horn east to Power. It is south down to the Gilbert border, and that whole area there is Red Mountain. Now we also have Superstition, which is anything from Power Road west all the way to the city limits on the east side and up north and down to the Gilbert border. We also have the Gateway District, which is pretty much anything in and around Gateway Airport. We are going to put these boundary limits up so you have a slide to refer to so you kind of have an idea which district you're responding into. For some of you, it's easy. You might only run in one district the majority of your shift. For stations like Station 1, Station 2, you might be running into 3 different districts sometime during your shift. The key is once we're starting to listen to this traffic, like I said, I think you guys will realize we're going to get so much more information where you won't have to go through our alarm room because you're hearing it firsthand. So what I recommend is when you come out to the truck, whether you want to is to have the company officer do it or have one of your firefighters, get in the habit of finding that PD channel. So I'm just going to show you real quick. We'll just show it on here. I'm going to turn my radio on. And we're obviously on C deck right now. That's our default state channel. If you just toggle up It's going to go K deck, D deck, and you keep toggling up until you see Mesa PD on the screen. And then when you see Mesa PD, you can have your toggle here. You have your channel selector. So channel 1 is their Fiesta. Central. Channel 2 is Central. Red Mountain. Channel 3 is Red Mountain. Superstition. Channel 4 is Superstition District. Gateway. Channel 5 is Gateway. And channel 6 is the Hot Channel. There's some additional event channels, and there's some other channels that PD have that we do not have access to on all of our portables. If you do have a TLO on your scene, they have access to the SWAT channel and also some of the event channels. And our battalion chiefs also have access to the SWAT channel. So if it's an incident that's extended event and they've called out the SWAT team, our battalion chiefs can come on scene and they can communicate with the SWAT leadership. Or if you have a TLO, you can request one of our fire TLOs will come out and they'll be able to have that communication for you. How it's going to look for you on the radio, when we get a call, really a lot of it's just listening. So as soon as we get to the truck, we just had one a little while earlier today, we went on a stabbing. So as soon as we're getting in the truck, I'm turning my portable radio to the PD channel. And I'm going to the Hot channel because it was a stabbing. So I'm monitoring that. We've got our other radio on C3 to monitor anything from the alarm room. And I'm picking up information while we're en route as to what the suspect looks like, any descriptors on the suspect. And then a lot of times you'll get information on what kind of injuries are sustained by the victim. On this one today, there was no injuries. We did have a suspect description. I didn't have anything to say on the radio until we get close to being on scene. They don't need to know we're en route. That's assumed. They've already called our dispatch. When you guys are in the area and you're staged, that's your opportunity to get on the radio. Now, PD does things a little different than we do. They don't clear alarm. So where we say Battalion 204 to alarm and we wait to be acknowledged, PD doesn't do that. They just talk freely. So how it would sound, it's Battalion 204 to dispatch. We're staged, our fire units are staged at this location. You just say it. You wait for a pause in the radio traffic and then you just speak. And then they'll acknowledge you. They'll say, copy Battalion 204. Or you could say, Mesa Fire to dispatch, we're staged on your call on Broadway. You want to give a location because remember, there could be multiple incidents working on that hot channel. So wait for a break in the traffic. We want to use proper etiquette. We don't want to step on their toes, especially to just let them know we're on scene. Now, oftentimes I've been listening while we're en route and you'll get victim information. If someone's hurt seriously, that's when they start asking for fire code 3 or they'll start to say the injuries. You can acknowledge that. If there's an officer that gets on scene and starts to say, hey, we've got one person that's not breathing, he's been shot in the chest, and they ask their alarm room to relay that information, you can acknowledge it right on the radio and just say, hey, this is engine 202 to dispatch. We copy that. We'll be on scene within 2 to 3 minutes. It just takes out the middle person. A lot of times our alarm room, our dispatchers get super busy and so do their dispatchers, and it kind of eliminates that. This is not something mandatory we expect you all to do, but it's highly encouraged. The more comfortable you get talking on the PD channels and really listening, it's just going to help us as an organization in the event that we have that big active shooter situation. So we really want you to be comfortable with it. Even use it on those lower level calls. Even if it's not a stabbing or a shooting and you're just going to stage for a fight, there might or might not be injuries. Get in the habit of listening to the traffic. You're going to hear those officers talking while you're en route. Now, you're not going to know which officers you're responding with, but a lot of it is just kind of listening to the traffic and saying, yeah, that sounds like the call I'm responding on. And then you're going to let them know when you're on scene. You'll also let our alarm room know, or you'll just hit our stage button, and that's fine. Once you're cleared to enter the scene from PD, they'll say the officer, they go by like 2 Baker 15 or 2 Charlie 16. They'll tell their dispatcher it's secure for fire. Again, at that point, you can acknowledge engine 202 to dispatch. We copy, it's secure for us to enter the scene. And then they'll verify that that's correct. At that point, you want to let our alarm room know that you've been cleared to enter the scene. That way, if we have a medic unit staged, they'll also get that information because they're not going to be able to monitor the channels like we will. And a lot of these calls, you're going to get so much information just by responding. The other cool thing is if we're staged and we're staged in the area, and let's say it was a violent crime and the suspect's outstanding, you're going to have a description of the vehicle or the suspect that just left the scene. And many times we happen to be in an area where we might be able to see that suspect or something to keep us out of harm's way. If we see someone that's matching the description, it's okay to get on the radio and let the officers know who you are. Hey, engine 202 to dispatch. There's someone matching the description from your call that's over at this location. And that's kind of all we want to do. We don't want to be talking on there excessively. It's really to let them know when we're on scene, and then just to acknowledge them if they're describing injuries from a patient or they want to give us some information. Like I said, we want to use proper etiquette. Sometimes they'll secure the channel, and that means if they're doing a building search, or maybe there's an officer on scene and there's a lot going on and he doesn't want a lot of radio chatter. So he'll ask for restricted traffic on the radio and you won't hear anything. In those situations, a lot of this is common sense. If you switch over to the PD channel and you hear nothing, then probably don't speak up until you hear an officer talk, because it might be one of those situations where there's restricted traffic. The other thing is, if you happen to go to the wrong channel and you're in the wrong, let's say it's a low-level call and you're on a district channel, they'll come back and tell you, dispatch to engine 202, we don't have that call in our area. And then you can ask them, or at that point you could switch to another channel if you're right on the border. Sometimes, like if you're north of Broadway, you're in one district. If you're south of Broadway, you're in a different district. Again, we're going to get those districts boundaries out to all of you. Just look at my notes here to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. As always, if you guys have any questions about this, I've been doing it for a little while as one of our TLOs, and I feel real comfortable talking on the PD channels. Most of our TLOs do, especially we're getting some of our new TLOs trained up, so they'll be more comfortable with this. But feel free to reach out to any of us. Chief Hickey and myself have been doing it for a little while, so you can call us at any time. Anytime that you're responding with the battalion chief, most of our chiefs are comfortable doing exactly what I'm saying, so they'll take that radio piece for you. But if they're not on scene yet, it's okay for you guys to get on that PD radio and let them know when you're staged, and then communicate with them when they ask you to come into the scene. As far as asking for updates, we don't want to be annoying, but if you've been on scene for, let's say 15 minutes and you're starting to see maybe officers drive away, it's okay to get on there and say, engine 202 to dispatch. Do you still need us staged? And they'll let you know, because there might be more going on that you weren't aware of. Most of that, you're going to be hearing the traffic, so you're going to know if there's a subject barricaded or if there's some reason that they still want you on scene. And when it comes to clearing, again, most of the time you're going to hear them direct. I know many times we've been on calls where we get cleared by alarm, or we don't get cleared by alarm, and we see all the officers leaving, and then maybe an officer stops by and says, hey, we cleared you guys 10 minutes ago. This is going to eliminate that, because you guys are going to hear firsthand if it's clear for you to leave, if they don't want you on scene any longer. We just ask you, make sure if you hear we no longer need fire, or fire can cancel, make sure they're talking to you, because with multiple calls on the same radio channel, we don't want you guys to cancel when they're expecting to be on scene. So in that situation, if you're not sure, all you have to do is give your unit identifier. I keep referring engine 202 because you guys all know I spent many years over there. But you can just say your unit number, engine 202 to dispatch, confirm you no longer need us on the call on Broadway. And then they'll verify it so we're all on the same page and we're not canceling when they still want us. Hopefully this is it in a nutshell. I know I talk quick. We'll try and get some of these points out too in a slide so you guys can refer to it. And then, like I said, you can always reach out to myself and I'll be happy to go over any of this information with you. Thanks for your time. You guys stay safe. Have a good shift.